So, I'll probably tell you this again tomorrow morning. I don't know what time it is. I was coming down to set up for milking, and I was watering the trough, and I noticed that Lana was cast, meaning on her back with her legs up in the air, on the ground, getting shocked by the electric fence. So, still alive, fortunately. She's the one we've been waiting for calving. So, I had to get Allison's help to get her down here because I couldn't get her head brought around. I couldn't get her turned on her haunches so she could stand up. She was starting to bloat, having difficulty breathing. I have a stress-induced breathing disorder fucking thing going on with me. It's some kind of asthma. I don't know. I'm still being tested for it, but I completely became paralyzed, winded, couldn't breathe, it was maybe a panic attack. I don't know. One of my favorite cows is lying there about to die. So anyway, I did manage to roll her over, not without a lot of difficulty. Allison was able to bring me my inhaler. I could get my breath. We managed to get Lana over on her other side and shoved her so she could right and get her legs under her, and she kind of popped right up. We've got her in the pen. We'll be keeping an eye on her. We've been waiting for her. She's due on next Sunday. It's Monday today, so due in a week. But she typically calves 4 to 5 days early. But she's also had a couple of horrible calvings. So she's a great cow. She's a good producer, but this is her fourth traumatic episode. So I guess last year was normal, but anyway, sometimes you just feel kind of cursed. I'll show you tomorrow where the spot was. We had to reset the fence. I don't know if the video recorded where I said I was going to clean up the area around the hay ring, but it was frozen. I didn't clean it up. Had I, none of this would have happened. So I'm feeling a little guilty that I decided not to do it today, but it just seems like the ground is too frozen out there still, but it allowed for the slope to go down where the temporary line I have set up, because they're not grazing in a normal or eating in a normal area in the hay ring. They're there. They shouldn't be eating there anyway. They're there because it is a big open spot. But now that there's no silage bales next there, and the buildup has led the fence to be in an awkward spot. But I had to have the fence, a temporary fence, because I needed to go in and out of there to get the silage bales. So we've got to fix all that tomorrow. So no other cow ends up in the same horrific position, because we've had one cow cast that died. She rolled down the hill, ended up in the fence. Bramble's been cast twice, and Libby's been cast once. Just here in the barn. They roll on their side and stretch out in the sun or whatever, or in this case topple over or slide down a muddy hill and get on their backs with the legs in the air, and they start to bloat and they just can't right themselves. So a cat without equipment, uncasting, decasting, flipping a cow over, righting a cow is no easy task. So anyway, I'm gonna finish taking care of the calves and start milking. Not bad. You can see the heat loss from the house and the beams going across. Purlins, those are called. And a timber frame like this from the colonial times. And down here, boiler's really smoky this morning because it's idling mostly, because it's not really heating, because it's much warmer. I think it's 30 degrees right now. It's gonna be almost 50 today. Got a couple days that are colder and then it gets warmer again. But I'm down here checking on Lana, and the moo call is blinking red, which I believe means it thinks she's gonna start calving, but it hasn't sent us an alert yet. Most important thing is she's alive after last night's trauma. Oh, hey, hey, hey! Luna! Luna! Hang on. Half down here. Can you step away at all? I bring my inhaler away. It's on the secretary. Luna. Come on. Hey. Can I? You do it. Okay. Hey. Come on. Luna! Luna! Oh God! Oh God! Well, the great news is Lana is up and attentive today. She's not looking any touch closer, maybe. She's not looking really close to giving birth, which is good. She's not due till Sunday, and it's Tuesday today. So I've come up with a solution to the problem, I think. The reason I didn't clean this out here yesterday was because the ground is too frozen underneath this loose layer down, and it's about 2 feet of buildup where the hay ring is. So Lana fell here. The fence was out there. She was down that slope by that 5-gallon bucket, and she must have just shoved or slipped, tipped over, was on her back with her feet up the slope, and tangled in the electric fence. When we found her, rolled her out to the far side, and then she stood right up, and that's always a good sign. And they get right up. As soon as you right them and get them on their haunches, they're up. But the ring has shifted over from where it normally sits, right about the back of nettle there, right there, and the ring sits over here. It's gone closer to the fence on this side. Anyway, all this is built up. You can see the ground level down there and the buildup up here. It's about 2 feet. So I'm going to use the excavator to break through that crust of ice. I think it's got enough power. And get this broken up, move the ring and the hay out of the way, and get this cleared back down to something resembling a normal grade, so that can't happen again. Because for whatever reason, I know she's vulnerable because she's heavily pregnant, but having a cow cast like that isn't acceptable. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure it doesn't happen again. This is the same slope where we lost our first cow from this He used to come out of the barn floor and slope all the way down there with about a 12-foot drop in a muddy hill. And we had a sort of a level spot. It wasn't, I built all this up to be level for bales now, but there was sort of a level spot and it went down. Anyway, came out for whatever reason, a cow had rolled down the hill and got caught in the fence and died down there. And we don't know. It happened early morning, we think. So we would have been asleep, and we didn't have cameras then. I mean, a lot of what we do now is because of that cow death. The morning and more checks throughout the day, and the nightly check, and with the cameras in the barn and stuff, that all got added because of that first cow loss. All right, I'm making some inroads. That's the ring. You see the level of the stone, maybe it's a couple feet of buildup there I gotta get rid of. Problem with using the excavator to break down is I'm hitting the road bed and digging it up a bit too much. I don't like that. Got the wrong bucket. But it's, well, there are big chunks of snow and ice under here. It is coming up without too much of a fight. So I'm gonna switch over to the skid steer and start at this top corner. I don't know where my tripod's gone, so I can't really set you up anywhere. But I'm gonna see if I can just start pushing stuff downhill. I wanna clear out this area here so I can shove the ring onto it with the good hay, and then I'll clear out this other area here on the other side of it. I do have to be a little careful because the mineral box is somewhere here under my feet. I thought it was actually gonna be over there more, but I think it's pretty much right where I'm standing, but it's down about 10 inches at least. So let's get the skid steer and keep working. Well, unfortunately, I hit a snag. That is solid ice. I can't get beyond it with the skid steer and shove this, so I'm down on a hole that I created, so I'm gonna have to use the excavator to break this up and clear this stuff out. It's a little impractical, and I really don't like tearing up the roadbed, but I gotta get rid of this mound because we cannot have a repeat of last night. Well, I was making great progress. I've got this side of the track clear. I've got a lot of this area here cleared out. I'm getting quite a pile built up. I was in the process of trying to move this hay ring. Unfortunately, I have a bale of hay I'm trying to move with it, and trying to break through this crust here going up to the barn. It's still about 2 feet deep, and we got quite a pile right there. But I've run into a snag, which is going to cost me the rest of the day, probably at least an hour. The track came off the skid steer in the worst possible place, right here in the middle, so I can't even ditch it. It's completely off the rear sprocket. That's one of the worst case scenarios, because it's not just a matter of getting it. Sorry, I'm just seeing a wad of manure. Not only do I have to hop it back on the idler, but I've got to lift it back up and on the thing. It's still cold, it's still frozen. I don't know what level of frozen mud or manure are in there that front idler has to come back. So I've got to release the grease pressure. I can't get a hose down here to wash off all of this manure, so I'm going to be working in the muck. Really not happy that this just happened. I can't move. I mean, I could try to limp the skid steer back there, but now that it's off the sprocket, that's not going to work. That is the one drawback to this. I don't know if all tracks skid steers do this, but every time I need it, every crucial minute when every crucial project when I've got something going on, it skips a track. And I only just put it on a month ago, and I barely used the machine. So anyway, I've got to my idea is to get the ring over here, and then I'm gonna just shove all of that stuff into the pile. And then the clearing will be a lot faster than going around the ring. And I was just gonna move this over here, and I thought I could get away with using the skid steer to do it. Apparently not. So I gotta go get all the tools I need a block of wood and some bars to help release the track, and I got to back off on the grease fitting to let the grease pour out. I'm going to do that first. I need something to kneel on down here, and a pry bar too. Oh, and I got to get a big block of wood, so I have to run the skid steer and use the bucket to lift it up. You've seen me do this before, maybe on a different video. Gotta lift it up so that this track is off the ground, and I can work on it. Really not happy. I was thinking I'd be done with this within an hour, and now it looks like it's going to be the rest of the afternoon. I have unfortunately buried the standpipe in manure, which isn't good. I can work around that, but somewhere in here is that box I don't want to damage, so we'll see what happens. You can see the level roadbed and ring, and that's a combination of hay that they rejected, snow, and manure. And because I had cleaned this in January, I cleaned back down to the roadbed in January in this spot, so this is all built up over the last couple months. It's still pretty icy right here. Anyway, looks like a mess. Well, I'm gonna have to admit defeat for now, and I don't know what to do because the idler pulley's frozen. I can't get it to retract. It's been almost 2 hours fighting. I've tried everything I can think of. Jacks and ratchets and chain binders and putting wood blocks between the bucket and the track and yarding it back, and everything I've done before that works, and it's just not happening. There's got to be a plug of ice and frozen mud in there, and so I can't move the skid steer. Now, normally when this track comes off, it usually stays on the sprocket. This time it popped completely off the freaking sprocket, so I can't actually. Normally I can manipulate the track back and forth, and I can put shims in there and these bars that help get it reset. None of that can happen the way this is. And I am hungry. It's hours after I started this. Lunch was hours ago. It sounds like I'm whining, but I'm just beat tired and frustrated because I don't know what to do. I've got a skid steer right where the cows need to be. I can't feed them in the barn. I can't feed them here. This sucks. The only thing I can think to do is try and get the excavator around behind the skid steer, come in through here, and get this stuff pulled back, and pop the ring in there, and maybe set a fence up or something. I don't know. I'm frazzled, out of options. I don't know. It's getting late. Need to eat. Milking's got to happen. And tomorrow it's going to be colder for the next 2 days. So basically this skid steer is stuck here until I can get that. I can't get a hose down here. All the hose I have only gets to there. I need another 100 feet of hose. I did actually haul down 4 5-gallon buckets of very hot water and dumped on there. And I actually did get a little bit of release, but not enough. I've got to come back to full retraction on that idler pulley in order to have the slack to then either take the track off and wrestle it back onto the sprocket and then worry it onto the front idler, or just to be able to pop it up onto the sprocket. If that idler pulley can come back, then this isn't an issue. But with it frozen, and I don't have a, the other option would be to put a kerosene heater on here. I don't own one. Some kind of torch, but I don't want to melt the rubber track or overheat it or detemper the I think pretty sure that idler's cast iron or cast steel. I am totally flummoxed as to how to get out of this situation. Well, I messed around with the excavator a little bit and I had a brainwave. I got around to where I could put the excavator bucket just up against the tread, just very gently pushing on it. I also stacked some extra blocks in here and was able to get an inch. Well, now, heck, I got 2 inches on the track and finally thawed enough to go back. It's been another 45 minutes since I gave up, but I just got the track on. So yeah, triumph of the gnomes. Let's get this excavator bucket out of there, and I literally should be good. I should be able to tighten that track and go finally. Yeah. I hope that does it. It looks like I'm on. Just. Yeah, I'm in. Oh. That was a thrash. That was a thrash. All right, so I can let this down. I'm gonna have to do something with all the gear that I brought down here now that I'm totally banjacked for, I guess I have to carry it out of here. I was gonna haul it out in the bucket of the skid steer, but that won't work. All right, so I gotta undo the blocking, lower the bucket, and then tighten it down. That's gonna take a half hour right there just to rethread the set screw and get grease pumped in there. But wow, finally. Almost 3 hours since I began. So when the idler is back all the way, track's quite loose, and it really just a matter of popping it right back where it needs to be. But I just couldn't get that idler broke free. It really wants to be back. See that amount there? When I started, it was flush with that part here. In fact, sticking a little proud of it. So it really had to go back about 2 inches. And it doesn't take much. It takes a little bit of ice or frozen mud or dirt, or in this case, frozen manure. And so it takes a little bit of pressure to push back on that. Normal circumstances, it just goes easily. But, all right, so get grease in that. Get back on with some progress. Miss Cassie is taking her sweet time here, feeding hers. Fonzie just knocked one off. Cassie gets more because she's older. Hey kids. These buckets greatly simplify feeding now that they're getting strong and big and they need more milk. They're progressing up to 2 quarts twice a day from the bottles that we've been feeding them. And this will free up bottles for the next calf, which should be Sunday. Lana's doing okay in the pen, fortunately. Her escapade of being cast and having to be rolled over doesn't seem to be harming her at all. The only problem with the sucker buckets is the calves can bump them around a lot. Okay, come on. Oh, you didn't finish it, Cass. Come on. Nail it. It is a little bit harder when Fonzie finishes so fast, keeping the other calves off of the last calf to feed. Usually it's Aurora who's slow, but they had less milk than Cassie did, so I just wanted her to finish it. And they've also progressed to water and grain. And they've all gained, we weighed them today. Cassie's 141 pounds. They all started roughly the same weight. Cassie is now 141 pounds. She's a couple weeks older than Fonzie and Aurora. Fonzie and Aurora are within a couple pounds of each other. I think they're around 100, averaging 120 pounds each, which is great. That means they've gained a pound a day, a little over, which is a good target. And I'll come back here later and muck them out, deal with Lana, and finish filling the trough. Okay. So it was a good job I did this. I mean, definitely got this down to the base layer. And the cows have eaten the bale that was out there, and most of that's just duff marsh grass I'll have to get rid of. And but what I couldn't do was this entry ramp up into the barn because well, yesterday was a little more obvious. There's snow and ice right here in layers. I was able to scrape out from the ground level up to a little bit, but then I just started skidding, and so I went up and I turned around and I tried to shove it back down. It's just still too frozen because that's had, you know, all the cows packing it down, all the snowstorms, and there's quite a bit of snow. I didn't get any good shots of it yesterday. All that manure, big huge pile there, was layered, stacked snow, manure, hay, snow, manure, hay, hay, manure, whatever. Anyway, so hopefully no more slipped cows and cast cows. Lana's doing good, by the way. And I got a mountain of manure and hay to compost, and probably won't be able to spread that. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is awfully composted now, and it's sort of generating heat, so maybe by the time, if I can get that rotated, maybe by the time spreading comes around for second cut, we can spread some of that pile. Got to get that manure spreader fixed or find a different one. Good luck with that. So the bulk tank failed to turn on overnight, and we are dumping milk.
Yes, I cry over spilled milk.
Well, it's not a total waste because it will get fed to the pigs, but it just means there's 25 less gallons going to cheese. A little scary there without a hat. Yeah, I'm just down here checking to make sure that we're at the correct temperature. I had to restart the compressor for the bulk tank today because we put milk in it after yesterday's debacle of losing 36 gallons. And when we came up after milking to put in the final bunch of milk, after I'd started it, the compressor wasn't going, so I had to hit the restart button on it. Apparently the refrigerant that we use in an old bulk tank like that is thicker, so it provides lubrication for the compressor, I guess. Anyway, it at cold temperatures it doesn't like to flow, which is why we had to keep a heater on it. And the whole problem was caused yesterday because I took the heater off because I thought the days were warming up. But apparently that's not the case. It's still too cold for that stuff to flow correctly. So live and learn. It was only, fortunately, 36 gallons of milk and not a full vat. But, and the reason we have an old vat like that is because modern farms have either very small vats, like a 100-gallon vat, or very big vats, like 300, 400, 600, 1,000-gallon vat. And, geez, I look a mess. So we had to get a used vat that was small. We only needed 200 gallons. It's all the space we had. That's all the milk we thought we would need at any one time, because it can constantly be made into cheese. But that meant we're using a vat that is outdated, basically. It's old, the compressor's wearing out. It's going to be a problem very soon. So who knows? We're going to deal with it. Lana, how can I show everybody your butt if you keep turning to kiss me? We have to talk about how soon you are going to pop, which may be by milking tonight. Yeah, you can has baby. Well, I'm down in the barn. I was just taking care of the calves. I gave them a little bit of hay, checked on their water, gave them some scritches. I do have to go in there and loosen Fonzie's coat. He's gaining weight like crazy because he's a little piglet. And then I've set up the gate here to make this in between the two pens, a little calf pen, because Lana's baby, who may be due, well, is due Monday, but maybe on the way as early as tonight. Yeah, you should have a baby tonight. That would be really good. Yes. So if there's problems, we have the whole weekend. So she's got a big glob of mucus coming out of her, and her pin bones are widening. She's looking like she's more ready than she was, yeah, of course. The calf dropped as well. We noticed it definitely lower inside of her. That's usually a sign that imminent birth is going to happen, and her bag's starting to fill out, her teats are getting tight. We still don't know because she's never had a normal calving. We have no track record with her. I guess the last calf came early, I want to say, like days early. So that's kind of why she's been in the pen since her accident. And I'm really just amazed that she didn't lose the calf, and hopefully she doesn't have a dead calf inside of her because of all that, but we'll find out. I don't think so. Everything seems fine. I can see it moving, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, so she's been in the pen since Tuesday, since the accident. But that's just to give her a rest. She seems totally normal and like nothing ever happened. She just wants out of the pen. Wants to have that calf. Yeah, and the calves want a new friend. Isn't that so, Cass? Hi. Yeah. I had to get the excavator going yesterday, and I pulled back and restacked some of the manure into a long windrow so I'd have a access between the two piles to get the bales out. And I got the last of the first cut bales that are here. I still have 21 at the other farm. So I'll try and make plans for next week to go get them. I'm not sure. I got to fix the trailer because it looks like I'll be using the tractor and a trailer to get them. I got bales there, and I fed out the last of the marsh bales is still there. They didn't really like it, and I knew that was a possibility. And then we put out one of it was, I think, their first cut bales from the other farm. So, but it was cut a week after I cut the first cut at the other farm, which was late first cut. So it's, we're having to add, I'm using alfalfa pellets to supplement, soak them, and then give them the alfalfa mush in the parlor just to help offset the lack of nutrients because the hay was, it was late, so it was awful stemmy. It's really foggy this morning. It should be sunny right now. Well, it should be lighter, rather. I was just checking on Lana. No calf. Doing the early morning check. I no longer have to worry about the boiler. I turned it off a couple days ago because nights are above freezing. upwards to 50 during the day, and it's getting warmer each day now. So the heat generated by all the equipment in the creamery can keep it at approximately the right temperature without risking overheating anything. So that's one less thing I got to do. So that's one more sign of spring. Oh yeah. The lights in the bistro are still going. That's the bulk tank compressor behind those boards. It's running right now. It did not run this morning, which means it didn't chill the milk that we put in there this morning, which means we have to dump the milk. It worked fine after the service guy came out last week, or the middle of the week. It worked from Wednesday through Friday. We turned the machine off Friday to make cheese. Got it going this morning like every Saturday morning. And I hit the button, got it going, and forgot to check on it. But it was going, but apparently it must have turned off and didn't chill the milk, because Allison came in here and found the milk at 58 degrees when it should be at 38, and it's now only 42. So it is chilling, but why didn't it turn on this morning like it should have? Now we got to get the service guy back out, and we got to dump the milk that's in here now. That's the second loss of milk this week. That is not good.